In the desert oasis where stories ignite, Skip's little bar, a beacon of light. From the Coachella Valley stars to cool everyday Joes, join Patrick and Randy, let the stories flow. At Big Conversations Little Bar, the magic spreads near and far. Backed by the McCallum Theater's grace, celebrate the voices that shape this place.
From the coveted corner booth in a little bar at the center of the Coachella Valley universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence, presented by the McCallum Theater. Visit McCallumTheater.org or reach the box office at 760-340-2787. Gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Howard. Yes, we are back here at Skip Page's Little Bar at the coveted corner booth. My name is Patrick Evans.
Still.
What?
You're still Patrick Evans.
As far as I know.
Okay.
I checked my real ID today.
Did you get one of those?
Yeah, I've had one for a couple of years.
I guess I got to get one.
No. You don't go anywhere.
Well, that's true. I'd have to get on a plane to need one.
You don't go anywhere, so why do you need it? That is the voice of my co-host and dear friend and the greatest sidekick in the history of podcasting, Mr. Randy Florence. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you.
But you don't have a real ID, so we might have to ask you to
This
leave.
may be my last episode.
It could be, yes. IDs are required.
Get a fake real ID.
A fake real ID.
A fake real ID?
Really be a mind twist.
Do not say this around my soon-to-be 20-year-old daughter. So far, I know she does not have a fake ID. I'm worried about the 16-year-old. I think she might. That is the voice of Brandon Weimer, who is our guest today. And we are so delighted to have you, the owner and founder of Brandini Toffee.
Yay.
One of the greatest homegrown products since dates. Since the Coachella Valley invented dates.
A commodity.
The next best thing is Brandini Toffee.
My wife, this is as excited as she's been for one of my podcasts.
Whoa, that's
in 2
really
years.
cool.
Yeah,
I thought
she loves your stuff.
I thought Patrick was going to say Fulvios.
Did she?
Fulvios. The sausage.
Since we folded the company and closed that, it's really hard to compare it to.
Okay.
We didn't have quite the runaway success that Brandini Toffee did.
Well, you should have tried to go to Italy with kids.
Hang around for another 18 years. It's nothing moves fast.
There's that voice.
Hey, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, really
it's
good
a
to
little
have you,
surreal. It's cool.
Brandon.
This is my first podcast in life, so.
Really?
Is it really?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
we've ruined you for everything else.
Doing podcasts around here. This is awesome.
I would think, but I'm really surprised at that because the story behind Brandini Toffee is, it's the sort of thing, it's a Coachella Valley legend now.
Thank you. I don't know if there's more in town, or if there are more in town, but I know I've done a couple online that I can never tell if it's really spammy or not, like these companies that are paying somebody to go do interviews and stuff, and I don't know if they're real podcasts. I don't listen to those, so if I do an interview on those, it doesn't feel as legitimate as showing up here and seeing a face.
Just want to make sure he wasn't expecting a check.
Nothing is more legitimate than this.
On the contrary, I showed up with toffee so that you're
So there you go. My wife's even happier.
Because I'm sure that was the question.
Too bad you didn't get any for yours.
Well, it's a full bag.
Well, then that wraps it up.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
All right, for those people who don't know, walk us through the origin story. You guys did this basically as a school project to fund a school trip.
Yeah. Yep. Student trip to Italy, sophomore year of high school at La Quinta High. I made toffee as a hobby. A childhood friend and I had an opportunity to study, not study is the wrong term, it was a vacation for a week over spring break with a class trip. And so I made toffee as a hobby, and our parents pretty quickly said, you should do something to help fundraise for that. They really weren't in the position anyways to go spend a couple $1,000s to send us on a week vacation. And so my dad he has an entrepreneurial heart. He was in business, hotel management, but he said, you should sell that product you've been making. And a family friend had taught me how to make it, so I was pretty good at making it. I made it quite often and was really passionate about it. It's 4 simple ingredients. I thought it's pretty crazy that you could just take butter and sugar and sit over a stove for 45 minutes to an hour and then put chocolate and almonds on it, and it literally converted those ingredients into a chemical reaction of turning into hard crack candy. And that was a family friend who taught me how to make it. in middle school. So yeah, I became very kind of nerdy with that recipe, and we started with the website. That friend of mine, her dad was a web designer, so he built a website for us, and that was a place we could solicit sales immediately to friends and family. That was October 1st, 2006, and then we did the Palm Springs Village Fest, that came a little bit later, but that was kind of the big break of showing up and you do this interview in front of, I don't know who it was, if it was city council or who it was, and you're trying to claim why you deserve to be there. And when they gave us that approval, was kind of off to the races, because every Thursday you could go and kind of guarantee $500 a week of sales, which is nice.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
Now, a friend in middle school taught you how to make this.
It was our family friends. It was a gentleman. It wasn't wasn't a
wasn't a 9-year-old kid.
It wasn't another child who's
hey, come over here. I know how to make toffee.
Cooking up toffee in the alleys. But no, he was an older gentleman that would stay at our house from Phoenix, because he did some business out here, and he made it at a family gathering. It was just like, hey, I'm going to make this for this get together, and I hung around enough for him to teach me, and then he and I were somewhat in competition early on, where I would send him different updates I was doing with the recipe of changing, whether it's chocolate or almonds, or after starting the company, we changed the cooking temp, which is a really important factor, and we give a lot of that credit to why it doesn't stick to your teeth nearly as much, which
That's important.
We think is our big plus. I mean, besides the other components, but yeah, we're really obsessed about 4 ingredients and how to not just have the best ingredients, but how to process those and then distribute it once it turns into toffee, how to distribute it meticulously so that it's the same quality when it's now in your fridge or showing up at a dinner table or something like that.
Did this become your hobby of choice at about that point, or what else did you like to do?
I was an extremely little person as a child, so I don't give any credit to sports. That's, I think most everybody's question, what sports did you play? And we all live that life, right? It was, did you play sports? I didn't really. I did the debate team in high school. That's it. That'll tell you who what kind of student I was. There's Skip.
There's Skip right there, ladies and
gentlemen.
Skip Page just walked into the bar.
Yeah, debate team for me was something I dabbled with, and I definitely enjoyed cooking. I don't know if I would have been gone towards culinary or not, but yeah, I don't know. Tinkering with stuff, I suppose. Had a garden that I did for a family or a student project that made my own garden at the house, and I don't know, building stuff and tinkering I think has kind of been my thing forever. And if anyone knows me nowadays, it's 100x that on the building side of and it's at home or work or whatever, just like kind of hands-on stuff.
And you said Dad was kind of an entrepreneur?
He's had little smaller side businesses, but then managed a hotel here in town, and that's how he made a living for the family for my whole childhood for over 20 years. But he, I wouldn't ever say that I've got the entrepreneurial heart. It's like, oh, I'm out there. I think he did this slinging gummy bears in middle school kind of thing, which is, I think, the cliche, what you're doing when you're younger is like, can I get, firecrackers from a cousin coming down from Nebraska or something? I think that's literally what he did. And I give him all that credit of having that risk tolerance. Again, it can happen at an early age. For me, I definitely, I like innovation, but I don't have a high risk tolerance. So it's been really great from day one. Between him and having the adults in the room, quite literally there to give a little bit of a, some bumpers to it. But the impetus of Brandini is just to fundraise for $2,000. So it's kind of like, we always say it's the glorified lemonade stand. It's like if you told anybody you've got, 4 to 6 months, whatever it was, to fundraise for $2,000, you can go out, wash cars, you do all sorts of stuff to get there. And yeah, so that's how it felt.
You funded the trip pretty quickly.
Yeah,
especially
a few months. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which is very cool. But at what point did this transition to a bit where you looked at it and said, this is more than a hobby now. Maybe I can do this, because this is your job. Like, this is your gig.
In high school. Senior year. So that was sophomore year, junior year. End of sophomore year, junior year would have been kind of a gray area of 2007 to 2008, where it was still just a lot of street fairs. We had hired 1 or 2 people that would help produce the product. We were making it. My dad, again, managed that hotel, and so they would allow us. You're familiar, Indian Wells Resort.
Yeah, of course.
And we would have toffee made there after school. Essentially, I'd go down there and make toffee, and then we'd sell it at these events. And I'd have eventually a couple friends that would help make product and sell product. And we're getting, being on the news with you back in that day, it was a huge deal, right? You go on and at Eye of the Desert, and then Gino Lamont there at Channel 6 would have us go down like quite often to give updates on things. So it felt like, okay, we're done fundraising. The parents were heavily involved, and obviously it was kind of had enough momentum. So you're not going to just be like, all right, mission accomplished, we shut this thing down. Kind of just said, we'll see what happens. I put a pretty big inflection point in 2008 where the business became a real business and was incorporated, and so that was by our parents. And so incorporated to really they were taking on higher levels of risk with home equity line of credits and some things that would give it some basis. We were getting around that time, we got kicked out of the kitchen we were in because we were taking up too much space. So we had to then find a kitchen, which was just a kind of more temporary spot in La Quinta, but having to put on our big boy pants for a few things.
Did you understand kind of the risk your parents were taking at the time?
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was there a little bit of pressure behind
I
that?
was going to say, you're kind of risk averse.
Yeah. At that age, I just wouldn't have. Obviously at that age, you just don't even know the lay of the land when it comes to a lot of things. But I was aware, being informed about, we were selecting to be an S corporation and how we were making that decision, or really the parents were, and the process within that. And so, so that, but on top of that, separate of the business side, was we then were getting some awards in the industry. So we had Specialty Food Association. We won the Gold Sophie Award. We're the first business, first toffee business in like 50 years to win the outstanding chocolate category, which was a huge deal in that industry. It's, I don't know how many hundreds or maybe even thousands of applicants will apply for each category. And so that was pretty big validation, because you're in the chocolate. We're not chocolatiers. We don't even know how to temper chocolate. We don't do it. It's not something you do on toffee. So it's funny to go into a category where people are just going to school on this stuff, and we're just blindly submitting a recipe that like we know is great, but it's almost hilarious if you think about the chocolate category, because that is a really prestigious category. So anyways, we won that year. That's a big deal. And
did you get how big it was?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're the first people under 17 in its history to receive the award.
Yeah, I was going to ask how old you were when you got that.
Under 18. We were 17. So yeah, Jacques Pepin, the French chef or something. I think he used to be a big chef. Maybe he still is, but he still
is. He's all over.
Still
all
around?
of a sudden, he showed up on my social media with his recipe. Oh yeah.
Well, you mentioned
crazy.
Brandini Toffee.
Quite old now, I would assume. He was elderly at that time, I think. He was the one who had presented the award, so we got to meet him, and
That's amazing.
He did the presentation, and the family was there and everything. It was a big deal. And then we did the Martha Stewart show that year, which was again another trip. That was also New York, and we did got invited. There's a lot of people. There's a handful of experiences that people say, how the heck did that happen? And it's literally like Palm Springs Village Fest. Like some producer for Martha Stewart show was here for, I think, a wedding, and came across Brandini and said, "Oh, we need to have you on the show."
Talk about that call.
I wasn't me. I don't know. I think it was potentially one of the moms. I think it was one of the moms that had the call. And I don't remember which of us even met her, but yeah, that was a surreal time where you're like, "Oh, that sounds like a huge deal." This is after prison. That's also the popular question. Martha Stewart's kind of recently fresh out, starting her show back up, and it was very much a popular show at the time. It seemed
pre-Snoop.
It's big. Yeah.
But they would have wanted a lot more toffee.
That would have been cool if Snoop was still involved. Yeah.
She asked how you could make a shiv out of toffee.
Toffee.
Yeah, that's a weird question. I
don't know how, but you could.
Before prison, I don't think she would have asked that.
Yeah.
So
simple prison
you're
recipe.
17, 18 years old, and this is happening.
Yeah.
And obviously, you said your parents were pretty involved. The parents were
super involved. Yeah, quite literally their business. Yeah, but it was still going into getting out of fundraising, we want to kind of fundraise for college. That didn't happen, but it wasn't like it was instantly profitable, and quite frankly, it hasn't been vastly profitable at all. Welcome to business. It's never no matter how much it grows, it just doesn't get to. You need to keep getting. You're always chasing scale. So
food product is the margins are notoriously small.
Yeah, after all the overhead, especially if you're manufacturing it.
Yeah.
So
to that point at the beginning, what were some of the most important lessons that you learned about let's not do that again?
Oh God. think it's probably over the first decade, I'd say. I can't remember the early years exactly. But, I mean, a lot of it's just cash is king. You know, we're in a seasonal valley that we're a seasonal industry, so we do 50% of our revenue in 3 months. So we do, quite a concentration there. And then we do 75% of our revenue in 6 months. And that's no matter what, no matter how much we grow. We're growing 10 times over in a decade or whatever, and it still is that proportion. So there's always this kind of feast or famine mentality where you're in season. Season's very short. You're catching up on a lot of things. You feel a relief for a moment, and then you get to the summertime, and there's 90 days. We literally just shut the facility down now for 90 days. So that balance of cash management while you're trying to reinvest and trying to figure out, okay, are we actually making any money, or are we just leveraging debt improperly? Because the SBA's been the biggest investor in Brandini Toffee as the Small Business Administration, and we've used their products since quite early on, and so and we've been somewhat of a poster child with them as well, and they've just been awesome. And this is before, I don't think people even knew what the SBA was before COVID PPP, but they'll give you some money when no one else will,
right?
And they loved you guys.
Yeah, and so they, for many different finance options early on as we were buying equipment and then renovating our facility and then trying to buy a building that we now operate, and some really big projects that could have just killed us if we didn't move properly. And honestly, we got pretty close to that too. But at least it was an option. And those have been the finance. Running on fumes, growing on fumes is really hard, and that's been the nature of our business for 18 years.
It's the nature of a lot of small
growing on fumes. It's not. It's not all roses from the behind the scenes, but fortunately, we've had a product and a brand that resonates and seems to be continues to build momentum. It's not. We've always kind of played the long game of we're not here to be a fad or not here to. I really think our category can be enduring, for many generations, and so that's why it's not rushed in that sense.
Got it.
All right. I got a cryptic note from my producer, and I'm just going to ask you to tell me what you want me to ask.
Oh, I was just going to say, tell us about the Costco deal when that first came together.
That's the word you wrote. That's Costco.
Costco. We had somebody that was trying to help us with outside sales. That was a friend, and I think she had a contact at a local store. Somehow, I don't know, I've heard two stories. I've heard that story, and then I've also heard the buyer of Costco for this region, which there's maybe 8 regions in the U.S. Each buyer has their own jurisdiction, essentially, and they buy very independently of each other and very little overlap. And so that buyer for this region, which is 50, I don't know at the time, but now it's maybe 50 or 55 clubs within Southern California, she claims her husband got it, I think, as a gift and brought it home, was like, you guys need to carry this. And so this is super early on. I give Costco a lot of credit of being like the local curators. Whole Foods gets a lot of credit and so on as being local shoppers. But this is like 2008. Within our first 2 years, they would have us come in and do roadshow, which is now, if people see Costco, Brandini at Costco, they're usually seeing us shovel out samples to the masses at roadshow, which is just consignment sales. They say you can show up, we'll approve you for these couple items, show up, and whatever you sell is yours, obviously within some shared margin there. And so that was an opportunity for us to have somewhat of a pop-up shop and build a little relevance here at the 2 clubs here in town. And then they eventually let us have an inline item, which means it's just there. Well, at that time it was seasonally. They say, all right, the 1 pound box of toffee is going to be here for holiday. And eventually you prove yourself enough through sales to be there, Q4 and Q1, and then eventually we've closed that gap and we're year-round. And then eventually we had toffee popcorn come in the mix, and that's year-round as well. But that's local and seasonal. So a lot of people, Costco, their brand is obviously phenomenal, and I get way more props for being in Costco than a wholesaler that's mad that they're having to compete with Costco seasonally or something. And I just say it's accretive to the brands for people to find our products in areas that you normally wouldn't see it. When we do holiday rotations, we'll have 15,000 pounds of toffee go throughout Southern California in front of a lot of faces that have never seen it, and popcorn's the same. And it might only be there for a little. We haven't earned our spot year-round at those clubs, and honestly, we never even earn it guaranteed for every season. We've had some years be much better than others. But it's been a huge part of our business and kind of how we've been able to grow in sync with them. We have that same transparency with them on how we know we're not going to be a national Costco product overnight, but if you look at our numbers locally, we are a multiple of their baseline. We're kind of in the unicorn phase here, where we'll sell sometimes more 1 pound boxes through the 2 local stores than we do as a company, anywhere else, and so we kind of create a beast there where they might, move quite a bit.
Did it create a manufacturing issue for you? I mean, like keeping up with Costco demand?
That's like a surge. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of similar to the working capital side, if we talk business, some of the kind of second order effect of that is the surge of demand. So you have a surge of kind of leveraging money to get through summer and then get ready for season, because right after the war, when you're at the last lap of summer, which is summer business here, you then just get blindsided with holiday season, again, where we do most of our business. So you need to stock up for that, which we've now started doing much more disciplined. We created built about a 1,200 square foot refrigerator that can stockpile quite a bit for us, maybe about 30,000 pounds of toffee we put aside for season. And when Costco, as long as they give us enough notice, it's good. Last year, love the Costco buyers, but last year they were a little late with it, and so we sprinted. We took on quite a bit of overtime, and that kind of compresses us. Yeah, when we have to put out, I think we put out 3 or 4 53-foot semis in a month, maybe, or 2 or 3 weeks. Where all of a sudden you're going from a mild walk to a semi truck every, I don't know, maybe it's every like 4 days or 5 days. We've had that. 2 years ago, we had an awesome year with them where they gave us an opportunity that was across multiple regions. So we had 8 semi trucks. So that was that was 240 pallets that went across to Mexico and several states, and but that was a flash in the pan. That wasn't expected to resonate much longer than that. It was a cool opportunity.
As a business, when you're scaling up production, that's got to be difficult, because all the that's huge.
You got
to demand.
Your procurement. You got to have enough time. It always starts with packaging. You have to have enough time, because we do all custom packaging. So you say, all right, I need to have enough time to order packaging to receive it in time, and then you kind of back schedule from there and go, okay, well, if I can get it by this day, obviously how many ingredients do I need by that point? And then you typically convert it to batches. You say, all right, I need to produce 500 batches of product for this type of fulfillment, and we then also need to shut off the rest of the business. Usually if it's going with short notice, which we've done a few times, you go, all right, well, we need to have everything else ready, because nothing else can go toward, it's all is going to that for as short of a period as you can make it. And then and then you need to have the labor to help, because we're very handmade. So we'll typically have to expedite our hiring for season, which we do anyways. But sometimes that kind of, is the tail that wags the dog of season, or kickstarts it at least. And then after that, season flows, and we put out, quite a bit within a short period of time. We'll, 3,000 or 4,000 pounds a day will be our flow for maybe 60 days straight. So it kind of blindsides you.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it all depends on everybody cuts their own deal, but I would assume that with a big distributor like a Costco, you negotiate margin differently than maybe some of the other places where you retail.
They have their own structure. I mean, Costco doesn't. They're so different than any retailer. Costco makes most of their money, or all their money, on memberships. So people want to assume that, why is something more cost effective when you go to Costco? And they go, well, they've literally used volume pricing to their advantage and decided to not make money on the product, which every other retailer does, and said, we'll just make money on the $50 or $100 you give us a year to have access to that. And so their markups, like 17% sometimes. I mean, it's very slim.
That's really small.
It's 50 to 100% elsewhere.
Wow.
So, they're working with very slim margins. And then they have a different model where you're allocating a percentage towards demo support. So obviously you have a percentage. For us, it's pretty standard to be 10%, which is the upper limit. But we find with a great product, people should try it, right? If you have no clue what it is, we used to do a lot of home shopping network, or I did, and I would just pitch candy on TV. There's no smell-o-vision still, so you'd be there like selling candy to some lady at 2 a.m. in Florida, and you're like, I can't tell you, I can tell you how great this is, but you won't know until you try it.
You just have to eat it.
And the barrier of entry there is purchasing it, whereas at Costco, you can pass out a lot of product and people get introduced, which if you know us locally, we do it in store. It started at Street Fair. Go to Street Fair, you pass out samples and you hope to create conversion. You go, all right, well, we open a store. We're going to do the same thing. And then we have kiosk program with stores that resell it, and we'll still put prepackaged samples in our kiosks because we want people to try it. And we think that's the best return on promotion investment or whatever. That's going to do way more than any billboard ever will.
100%. We had to take a quick break to acknowledge our presenting sponsor, the McCallum Theater.
Oh, yeah.
Season is in full swing, and you can go to McCallumtheater.org to find out all the latest shows that they've added. That is the heart of entertainment in the Coachella Valley, the McCallum Theater, your entertainment, the McCallum.
The McCallum Theater's 2025 season is on sale now. The world's top artists from jazz, pop, classical, and comedy to the best of Broadway, only at the Valley's favorite place for great entertainment. Tickets are on sale now at the McCallum Theater's box office, by phone, or online at McCallumtheater.org. Tickets sell quickly, so order yours today. It's an exciting season only at the McCallum. Your entertainment, your theater, the McCallum Theater.
And we are back. Thank you, McCallum Theater, for being an ardent and wonderful sponsor of Big Conversations Little Bar. We appreciate it. We're here with Brandon Weimer of Brandini Toffee. It was a little project that he started to pay for a school trip, and now he is a captain of industry here in the Coachella Valley. What's the company structure like? Your parents still heavily involved? What's the deal?
Yeah,
give us
I
the
graduated,
inside scoop.
Went off to college. The girl that was involved, childhood friend, she and I went off to school in 2009, and then we graduated in 2013. And for me, it was really obvious I was going to come back and see what I could do with this. Her mom and my mom worked full time. Maggie had quit her job, I think around 2008, and worked full time. I mean, whatever that financially ended up being, I don't think a lot, but they put a lot of time towards it. The moms would be out there running, traveling, doing road shows and harvest festivals and stuff. And then, Leah had just went and got a career, started a career elsewhere, did her own thing. It was, it wasn't obvious at that time that, this is where the money's at. I'm going to go move. For me, it was literally move in with my parents. I got a degree. I went to University of Arizona and got the piece of paper and all that, and then said, all right, without really using that, I'm just going to go home, live with my parents, and see if we can make a living doing this. And so, and I was in a great position to kind of have very little downside to it. Again, my burn for life was extremely low. And so that, took a lot longer than I would have hoped, but I came on full-time immediately and picked up a broom and kind of at that time we were renting a different kitchen here in Rancho Mirage, which is kind of near where our main facility's at. And so that was kind of quite a reset for the business where, at this point, and flash forward by now, it's the ownership structure is me, my parents, and Maggie and Justin, and we all have equal part. But I lead most of it because
you're the face of Brandini.
Yeah, and then I get the fun job of being the face of it. And funny, we took our logos off the packaging years ago, but still, luckily it's cool. Locally, it's obviously it's super rewarding that locally it has some prominence, but then I also love that you can go like 30 miles out of town and nobody knows who the hell it is. So it's like it's great. And so it's cool.
Sorry, I keep kicking you.
No, it's good.
Kicking Brandon into the table. Don't mind me.
I don't do that.
Deserve it.
It's you.
This town's so great. We give so much credit to the Valley. I don't know how it would have started in a different market where it's just giant. There's a lot of competition. Toffee doesn't have a lot of competition per se. It's such a small industry nationwide. We're one of the probably bigger exclusive toffee manufacturers in the country, and we're tiny. So it's not like we're worried about that side of it, but just the nature of this valley and the nurture that this community, we have, such affluence and appreciation for small business and appreciation for good product. And so you kind of get the synergy of those two. We have just people that have really, people that buy the product and just passionately buy it and distribute it because of, all these other reasons. And then you have people that provide just help and give advice and give their time and just, it's a small, big town, as we all know, right? So
when you came back from that Italy trip, had you developed a reputation at school as this guy who had made some money?
You were the toffee guy, right?
Yeah, both.
You were the toffee guy.
Both of us, both kids at the time. We both, we just getting to be on the news as a kid, right?
Yeah.
I do remember us going to a news station early morning, as it's your lifestyle, but really early, and then you go to school after, and they're like, people are like, oh, my parents and I were watching you an hour or two ago, and it's just a weird balance to go to school after that, and that was certainly, I think it was definitely an oddball thing. I don't feel like as a kid it made me the cool kid or something. Just something we did. I remember being on the Martha Stewart show, and after that had like a speaker call or whatever you would call it with my whole Spanish class, right? So the teacher wanted us, it was, in this world it would have been a Zoom call, but it was just, speakerphone chatting to the whole class, like a little Q&A. That was super cool to have that support. But yeah, and even in college, it was kind of an oddball thing to do. Like, I think Brandon's got a candy company or whatever. And obviously it's, much more than me, but that was what it would be identified as. But it's taken quite a while for that to maybe gain some more respect, I suppose. And
when you went to school in Arizona, what was your degree?
Communications. I minored in business, started in business, and realized it would take an extra year. And I'm like, I can't do 5 years. I switched to comm, and grateful I did it. Had a great time. My best of friends still in life came from that experience, and but was super eager to get back. Right, and flash forward to 34 years old, I would love to be living the simple life over there right now. But I was eager to get back and somehow dive into the adult world. But it's a daycare for kids over there in college. It's pretty nice. Daycare for adults, I suppose.
You got a taste of was it the entrepreneurial side, or was it just the dedication to the product because you love the product so much? Or what made you decide to come back and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to see if I can make this my full-time job?
My dad's always been super optimistic about. He's just an optimistic guy when it comes to things he thinks will work, it seems. And I think he's just pumped it. He pumps it full of hope. I really think he did a great job at that early on. And so for me, I did feel somewhat invincible of having it, self-efficacy of I could figure it out. I don't know business. I took accounting classes. I hate it, but I'll figure it out. And I think I'm decent at it now. But that part of it, and then also I just really love the product. And so as cheesy as it is, I'm you watch enough people eat it and give you rave results. You're this can't just be go to zero, and it can't just be on autopilot. I had no interest in going to get a real job, I suppose. But I don't know. It's it seemed like the perfect. I didn't question it. I give a grandparent a hard time because one of my grandparents was well, you're supposed to go get your master's and then go work for somebody was the expectation, right? I'm that. I took offense to that.
A couple of $100,000.
Yeah. So who cares about that? That's not. Everyone's got their own journey, and so anyways, after college, it was and it was quite blindsiding to dive in. That was the first year we stopped growing. We had positive growth for 5-6 years, whatever that was, 5 years straight, and then all of a sudden you get out, you're oh, this is the first year it's just not, there's no wind at its back, and it's not like there's a ton of wind at its back, but it's just negative, and that felt scary, because again, I felt the fire just knowing our parents had risk to this. That was huge incentive. It wasn't oh, I need to go make a bunch of money or something, but but it definitely needed to get to scale or continue to scale. And so we opened a Palm Springs store, or downtown store, in 2014. And that was a huge
was that
decision.
Nerve-wracking?
Yeah, that was, because that was one of my first big projects, being full-time back, where my mom and dad actually were doing a staycation in Palm Springs and stumbled across, that our spot in front of the Plaza Theater, and said, this is awesome. And we were already thinking about a spot in Palm Springs, but it was that felt serendipitous. And so we reached out and signed a lease and said, maybe, can a toffee shop freestanding do its thing and survive? And we opened in August 2014, the worst time to open. I think we probably did $200 a day, but yeah, that was a lot of trying to do both sides of run the operations side. And I remember definitely took a few naps in my office kind of thing, and trying to do, okay, I'm trying to do a production, run that side of the business, figure that out, and then dive into managing the retail store. And then eventually got some management that has helped a lot, and figuring that out. And that, that store's, we've been huge for our brand in the business. A lot of people only know us from that store.
Well, it's in such an incredible location.
It really is.
The foot traffic is amazing.
Location's everything.
So you get a lot of. So, are you now more? I know you're the face, and you get to do fun things like podcasts.
This is cool.
do you lean in more into the operations side and the manufacturing, or do you lean more into the retail management side?
My dad's come on full time 5 years ago, and he's helped me a lot on the human resources side and some of the operations. So he and I we have 2 offices, but we have a little pocket door between them, and we've really found our niche where there's certain things that people know that he's there to help with. That's all stuff I was very involved in, and I'm still aware of, but at least don't need to be the point of contact. We have great, and so that includes typically store management, but we have great store managers. I mean, we have 3 stores now: Rancho Mirage, Palm Springs, and Desert Hills, Cabazon. And so those aren't high touch. I mean, I'm doing stuff for those stores from a computer of updating their pricing and running when we're in promo periods. I'll be doing the communications to those stores. And production side, I'm very much into like the engineering side of our business. So I do, and which kind of started with making the recipe, obviously, right? So when it's the manufacturing processes and equipment, when we're bringing in new equipment and fine tuning that, or really just fine tuning the process, I think we've been leveling toffee on a big cooling table now for over a decade, and I still will go in there and we're trying to find ways to do that better. It's the same process, but we're just tweaking out on the tiniest of things, and it continues to make a better product, a more consistent product. And then when you need to scale or bring in new production capacity, then I do a lot of that as well. We have a consultant. We actually have a guy that used to be retired like 4 years ago as the chief engineer for C's Candies, and he lives here, and so he's a friend of a friend, and he consults with us and will help me make some really cool. We don't buy a lot of equipment, but when we do, he's really a phenomenal resource.
Is that the hardest part of the product itself? Is the consistency?
Takes quite a bit, especially after you produce it. Making it consistently has become quite easy. When we go through seasonal surges and we have a lot of new team members and stuff, that takes a lot of hand holding. But when we're when we're distributing it and you're selling it at places and you're saying, okay, I'm trying to find a way, like we're trying to make lemonade with the lemons of toffee, being that toffee normally is sold at room temperature, and that's kind of just the worst thing you can do right off the bat because it has a terrible crunch. It has that grit to it. It's butter based. It just doesn't have a good feel, and technically it will have a good shelf life because toffee has no water content. It's boiled out, so you have butter, sugar, chocolate, and almonds. But then from a quality perspective, it should be refrigerated, and that gives it the best crunch. So you've basically just shut off 90% of retail buyers and stuff who are like, I'm not going to refrigerate candy. It just makes no sense, and they don't have real estate for it anyway.
Right,
so
no room in the fridge.
Yeah, so like we don't have a spot for that. But we've really tried to invert that, and like you'll see here in town, like we put our refrigerator, we call it the kiosk, but we have a fridge that we'll put in, and we deploy the fixture. It's about $1,000 investment, and we put it in. As long as they give us the space for it, which is 4 square feet, we think it's the best investment we can make. And so we have about 100 of those locations now, and they're throughout. Definitely throughout some California, but we have one in Alaska, and just have one shipping tomorrow to Oklahoma, and we got them throughout, right? They're kind of all around, but not with density. But that's hard to do where you say, okay, now we have all these places that are like little micro stores. It's just a fridge, but you want to make sure the product they're buying there is great. And so a lot of that is with inventory turn, and I don't have sales reps out there, so it's really just touching base via email. So I do a lot of that hand holding with our accounts.
I'd go.
Sales.
I'd sell the toffee. I'm all over that.
We're ready for Oklahoma tomorrow.
That's right.
I thought you said Oceanside. I'm sorry.
That's also important. Your 4 square foot fridge that you provide, make sure that your branding is correct.
It's great. Yeah, it's kind of you guys know that Perfect Bar, it's literally called the Perfect Bar, but it's that like health nutrition bar or something. They I think really cracked the code on this, where if you go to, or at least in my opinion they did, if you go to like a grocery store, go to Sprouts or something and look at the health food bar section, and there's like 200 items, right, or something. It's just like overwhelming. And their pitch, and I don't know if it was by necessity or not, but their pitch was, no, sorry, we need to be refrigerated. So they got their entire own little section. They're like up on their own throne. And funny enough, now a bunch of people have created products that need to be right next to them, obviously, because they're like, nope, we need the quality or shelf life's extended, whatever it is. And so I really think there's a good tactic there where you're not stooping down to, a buyer's going to always want the longest shelf life possible, 9, 12 months, whatever, at ambient temperatures. And you go, well, we can get the shelf life. It just needs to be cold. And they'll say, well, technically I'm selling selling other toffee at room temp. And I said, well, that's because it's inferior toffee, so you should just sell it refrigerated, and that guaranteed will help. And then obviously we'll take some pride in how we make our product and the ingredients and all that, but really it should just be kept cold. There's certain products that are just better refrigerated, it's a better crunch.
Yeah. How close are you to the original recipe?
Oh, phenomenally close. Yeah,
really?
I kind of touched on it earlier, but the only change we did after we started the business was, besides a bigger batch, so we make, the original batch was like 2 pounds, and now it's 100 pounds. We do it in three kettles at a time. So we have a fire mixer that has an agitator, and you guys should definitely come down and see it. But it cooks, and then it's a little more, not automated, but just a little more less manual. But we had a friend of a friend, essentially, that knew Don Callender from Marie Callender's, right? He was a big name, or was a big name here, and has since passed. And he tried our product and gave feedback to that person, said, just tell them to cook it 4 more degrees. And so that will give it a better crunch. And so we did that, and we're very strict about that temperature.
Was he right?
Totally, it helped, yeah. And so that was the biggest update we've ever done, and we give all the credit to him on that. After that, it's just scaling the batch. I've updated, the exact amount of chocolate to put on it, so that it's weighed, not just eyeballed, so we know exactly how much to distribute on a batch. And then almonds, same thing. But it's a roasted almond, you chop it, and it's the same. It's better quality butter. I think we bought Kirkland butter early on. We use Challenge butter, which is, I think, the best you can buy, and C&H sugars, all same sugar. Guitar chocolate, that we kind of stumbled into their options early on because they distribute through Cisco, which is who we ordered from. We're like, I don't know who they are. Well, they're like the biggest chocolate wholesaler on the West Coast, and they do phenomenal chocolate. I mean, See's Candy, for example, doesn't make chocolate. They melt guitar chocolate, and then they put it on their products. So it's very uncommon to be the bean to bar, movement right now is not what toffee manufacturers are planning on doing. I don't think is making their own chocolate. I'm not going to start a dairy farm and start churning butter either. So it just doesn't.
So no breaking news.
Our goal is to. We used to have the math though of how many. Again, we're small, but it was still fun to do the math on how many dairy cows it would take to maintain our volume. It was like a whole pasture or something. It was quite impressive.
Well, if you could get,
it's kind of fun.
The Brandini logo
on the side of the
cow.
Oh, a big brand. Yeah, giant. I'm sure they'll love it.
A Brandini brand.
I'm not talking about a brand. I'm thinking maybe like spray paint. I don't want to hurt the cow for
haircut. We'll find a groomer that can shave that in.
It's much better to spray paint them.
Yes. I'm sure there'll be some stem cell technology soon that could just grow that on the side of them. Just grows right in there.
So do you have anything that you'd like to make? Do you have new products coming out?
Yeah, I mean, so we stumbled into popcorn. Now it's been a long time, but some guy at a street fair said, and this was direct to me, was like, take your toffee and coat it over popcorn. I know I'm not answering your question entirely.
He's avoiding it.
No, but I like thinking about the popcorn.
It's a soft no, but no, there are a lot of ideas. But so popcorn is the only other time we really innovated, and like funny enough, that's half our volume now. We produced 130,000 pounds of popcorn last year, I think, and that's just toffee popcorn. It's the same toffee, coat over popcorn, which is really quite a bit to figure out how to do because toffee's so viscous when it's cooked. Before it solidifies, it's still liquid, but it's not your normal liquid. It's somewhere between honey and peanut butter, perhaps.
Woof.
And
that's heavy.
So to get that to coat over, it takes some unique engineering. But
I must have ate like a quarter of that. Last year.
Well, you do a lot of.
We have some here.
You do a lot of donating to charities because I've gone to a number of events, been to a number of events, and I come home with these small packets of Brandini,
50 or 60 small bags.
I steal them from other people. Are you kidding me?
It's like a piñata.
Most people don't leave that. They'll walk out.
That's true.
So I have to physically remove it from their person.
Well, yeah, and you attend more events than anybody I know, and you do give a lot of your time to those same causes, which is. I know they're forever grateful for.
Well, I've eaten a lot of Brandini Toffee this year because of that. The popcorn has been fantastic.
Thank you.
What's the next product we can look for?
Yeah, so we are back to the product question. There are some things we have like kind of on the back burner that I have a lot of. I mean, we got 10 other items that would be really cool. But toffee and popcorn is quite a high volume for us. And so to be large enough to be significant is really hard to do, and still have some mass appeal. So, for example, we do toffee pretzels in our stores, and we put them in gift baskets. They're really hard to make, and they're not that shelf stable, and so it's just kind of a dead end product. You're like, it's a great product, just a dead end. Right now, we're super excited because in our stores we do toffee ice cream bars, cups, and milkshakes, and so I actually brought 2 of them. And we can make a detour to Brandini, but we're starting to prepackage them, and so I have actually Jensen's here in the Palm Springs airport starting like last week, or the first place is selling it. So we're doing the kiosk program freezer edition, where it's a frozen kiosk and it has the bars on display. And then that's kind of inspired a whole different chocolate dipping sauce that I think I'm onto something with it, where I'm doing a kind of toffee chocolate sauce that once melted and you put on ice cream, or like family I'm giving out to is putting on bananas and fruit and whatever, turns this really nice toffee shell. And so I'd like to offer that, I think, probably in store for our products, for ice creams, but also just a prepackaged. We want to have the chocolate we do on our ice cream available for taking home. And I think it could actually be something that could be more mass market. We're not, this isn't going to be a blowout thing, but if it can be at some specialty retailers, it would be nice.
You're also working on a Brandini teeny.
Yeah, as a
Brandini.
Yeah, it's like you knew too much before we started this conversation, or it's just the universe telling me that we should find a way to do it. But yeah, it'd be fun to have locations in town that back way back when we started, we had, I think it was the Cliff House did do a Brandini teeny. And I don't know what the recipe was, but it was a dessert martini. And obviously, I don't know if it's always been the way, but an espresso martini is all the rave at this point in life.
My gosh.
And so to have something that's a spin on it, obviously with the brand to it, this isn't going to be the, get rich quick scheme or something, but we just think it's a really cool way to connect with the community and find, something like a little bar here that we're at now, and some craft drinking spots that can create their twist on a beverage. And so coming out with something that can actually bring the toffee flavor I've been working on, it's just a really fun evening project at home.
Do you just go home and experiment with different ways?
Honestly, never. And then the past month I've been invigorated. If you were my family right now, you'd see that I'm rolling into work with like a goodie bag of whatever the heck I'm concocting. And that hasn't normally been the case. There's pretty much, I have a list of things, of ideas, of products, and they've all been like, would be awesome to do, but aren't really going to move the needle on our business anytime soon. But some of these are kind of just passion projects. Like I think we want to get into espresso in our stores, doing espresso-based beverages, starting at our Palm Springs store, because the Plaza Theater's going to be renovated this fall. So we know we're going to have to position ourselves better there. And honestly, our logo looks like coffee. And so about 50 people a day walk in asking for coffee, and you're like, we should probably just sell coffee.
Sell coffee.
And
sell some coffee and meet the demand.
To do that, we would like to have a specialty beverage. Doesn't need to be all of it, but that has a toffee hint to it. And so I'm trying to create basically a simple syrup that's made out of our product that can go the liquor route, or could go the coffee route. And again, it doesn't need to be, if people want to buy it, probably we could sell it prepackaged, but it's kind of just fun to learn the limitations of our product, because it's not, I kind of joke, we're like like a Mexican food restaurant. We have like 10 ingredients, not even that much actually, and we're just trying to remix those in many different ways.
Right.
And but it really can create something so unique. We procure like literally butter, sugar, chocolate, almonds, pretzel rods, cashews, raw popcorn kernels. We pop our own corn, and I think that's it. And dipping chocolate we blend ourselves, so coconut oil.
Is Brandini at the Aquasure?
We have product there. Yeah. No? We're in the stores. Yeah.
This is why the sausage company did not make it, because no one wanted a sausage martini. No one was putting it in their coffee.
You know what?
Seriously?
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Even in this town.
Yeah.
Regardless,
don't even go there.
Might have needed to change the branding a little bit. Brandon, thank you so much.
This has been really cool.
You guys. I appreciate this conversation.
Fascinating, and it's almost like a little small business primer. I think if people who can listen to this will get a slice of how a small business went from this interesting hobby for kids to get their ticket to Italy to now employing your family and working on this really cool concept based on a really tremendous product.
And my wife's going to think I'm cooler just because I was sitting here talking to you today.
I'm serious. With the microphones off, come by and bring her by, and we'll take a tour, and she can come check it out. I'm super proud of the product, and I'm proud of what we've done. It's not easy. But yeah, people like you that are super passionate about it are just in support. I feel like the hometown kid that people really are holding their hand, and that's it makes some of the painful stuff easier.
Well,
it's
people
brutal.
are
It's not
rooting for
all
you.
roses.
Oh,
It's a grind, and just it's very volatile, and it's still not as far as we've gone. It's still
Yeah, I know it's got to be
something.
tough because a lot of your product is it's commodity based, and you're dependent upon the price of butter and the price of chocolate.
Yeah,
And all
it's
that
always
stuff.
moving. So, but I enjoy it. Wouldn't trade it for anything else. Love being with my family, seeing them at work, and so on. We'll see where it goes. So yeah, thank you guys.
Congratulations on what you put together here.
It's a
Thank you.
beloved product because it's a great product.
Thank you.
And so we wish you tons of success in the future with whatever
Thank you.
whatever the next iteration is.
We'll see.
And keep that wonderful original product going.
Yep, keeps quality.
My thanks to John McMullen, our producer, our guest Brandon Weimer from Brandini Toffee, and go check out the stores. They have 3 different store locations
Here in the
Palm
Valley.
Springs, the outlet malls, and
Rancho Mirage.
Rancho
It's a
Mirage.
factory store. You can
At
see
the-
the production through the window. So
go check it out. Randy Florence, always a pleasure.
I'm going to go to Brandini.
This is the first time we've had a product or guest that's sweeter than you. Brandini Toffee.
the bar's high.
God, you waited 200 or 100 episodes to say that.
105 episodes, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll come back.
I'm gonna need
I'm
to
gonna
look at
make
that.
John
Who else
edit.
has been on the show? I think the bar's pretty high.
I'm going to make John edit that out. Thank you very much for tuning into this edition of Big Conversations Little Bar. Remember to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Our thanks to the McCallum Theater. Our thanks to Skip Page and Little Bar and the entire team here. I'm Patrick Evans. Listen every week.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Page's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, and presented by the McCallum Theater. Online at mccallumtheater.org. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com and most major podcast portals.
Meet your neighbors, fascinating and grand. Each conversation, a wave on the sand. Raise your glass and join the ride, where stories and dreams fully collide. At Big Conversations Little Bar, brought to you by McCallum, our guiding star. From movie, stage, and TV's delight, join us for a captivating morning, noon, or night. So gather round at Skip's Little Bar, where stories travel from near and far. Big conversations where they unfold, with Patrick and Randy, tales retold.